Chapter 1. Suddenly, an alien appeared in my brain. Blue Planet, Wagwo, H City, 6:07 p.m., Subway Line 3. One group of people rushed out of the subway, while another surged in like a tide. Bison stood in the middle of these two currents, not only failing to be an excellent trendsetter, but also having her high heel stepped off for the third time. Bison was so angry that she cursed the inventor of rush hour for the 108th time in her heart. 5 minutes later, the subway finally departed. Bison straightened the hem of her white shirt and the pleats of her black pencil skirt, walking with incredibly happy steps towards the subway exit. Once she exited this station, it would be her wonderful time to enjoy delicious food. The thought of spicy grilled skewers, stir-fried noodles, mini hot pot, completely activated Bison's taste buds. A full day as a corporate drone, 2 hours of happiness, this was what she longed for. Bison wished she could hum a tuneless little song, happiness is like a flower, to infect the surrounding air with her joy. Suddenly, an intense dizziness accompanied by full body pain aggressively struck, and Bison's legs gave out, causing her to kneel beside the subway security gate. The moment her knees hit the ground, Bison heard a voice in her mind cry out, "Ah," in pain, followed by an extremely noisy sound surging in her mind, much like a mosquito trapped in her ear. Bison shook her head, attempting to dislodge the sound, but only her long, curly hair tied into a ponytail swayed in the wind. "I'm doomed. I've probably been eating too much greasy food lately and have high cholesterol." Bison thought. "No, I'm so slender, it shouldn't be high cholesterol, it should be floaters." Bison thought again. "Still wrong. My eyesight is excellent. I don't have myopia, amblyopia, astigmatism, glaucoma, or cataracts, so it can't be floaters." Bison thought yet again. "Then it can only be that I'm hallucinating. I might have a mental illness." Bison thought yet again. At this moment, the dizziness receded like a tide. Bison pushed herself up from the ground, slightly adjusted her hem and skirt pleats, and then ignored the pain in her knees, ready to continue bravely forward. The floaters in her mind suddenly disappeared, and Bison heard a mechanical voice. "This is a new game developed by the Universal Mysterious Organization. Congratulations to Xiao Yu of Mino Star for being selected as a game player, automatically matching Blue Planet creature Bison as the game character. Completing missions will earn game points, refusing or failing to complete missions will." What the heck? What Mino Star? What Xiao Yu? What player and character? And what did that final garbled message say? 10,000 question marks popped up in Bison's mind. "It's not Xiao Yu. My name is Xiao Yu." A cold male voice suddenly sounded in her mind, with a slight electronic tremor, utterly captivating. "I'm doomed. I'm doomed. Heaven must have been displeased that I'm 25 and still don't have a boyfriend, so it started assigning me an electronic boyfriend." Bison thought. "Don't think nonsense. What are you even thinking?" The voice sounded exasperated, but Bison found it even more pleasant to listen to. "I told you not to think nonsense." The voice, due to excitement, was almost unable to maintain its original sound. Immediately after, Bison suddenly felt unable to control her body. Her two legs, which were originally stepping forward, suddenly spun in place as if fitted with gyroscopes. Not only that, but her hands, feet, and even her entire body seemed to lose balance, and she fell straight forward. Just at the last second before falling, Bison suddenly regained control of her body, and she instinctively stretched out her hands to brace herself. Immediately after, Bison suddenly felt unable to control her body. Her two legs, which were originally stepping forward, suddenly spun in place as if fitted with gyroscopes. Not only that, but her hands, feet, and even her entire body seemed to lose balance, and she fell straight forward. Just at the last second before falling, Bison suddenly regained control of her body, and she instinctively stretched out her hands to brace herself. After stabilizing, Bison's legs were still trembling. "Who exactly are you? Are you someone I imagined? Or a ghost?" Bison asked calmly, but she was terrified. She looked around in the air, trying to find the owner of the voice. "You just need to think with your brain, don't speak with other organs." The voice said again. "Other organs, that easily makes me think of that." Bison tried to think this sentence in her mind. Indeed, a low-level life form from a low-level planet. How vulgar. The voice expressed dissatisfaction again. "That's not what I meant. I clearly spoke with my mouth, and you described it that way. Also, you didn't answer any of my questions just now," Bison said, while still observing the surrounding air for any changes. Before the voice could react, the previous voice suddenly burst out in Bison's mind again. "Dear Xiao Yu, you have entered the three-dimensional world of Blue Planet. Please familiarize yourself with the Blue Planet living environment as soon as possible, to facilitate this system in issuing missions to you. Now broadcasting Blue Planet history. Now broadcasting Wagwo history. Now broadcasting game characters' life story. To facilitate missions, game functions such as language intercommunication, emotional fusion, and force control have now been activated for you. For more game settings, please explore on your own." Hearing this series of voices, Bison was extremely shocked. She was even more certain that she must have played too many online games in her free time, otherwise, how could she fantasize about something so preposterous? Imagining voices in her head was one thing, but imagining that the owner of these voices was a game player and she herself was a game character was as absurd as it gets. About half a minute later, there was another sound in her mind. "You can also hear the game broadcast. What you hear is an incomplete version. That's right, you're just a game character. You originally have no right to hear the game broadcast. Right, let's leave here first. Oh, I've seen your memories. After exiting the subway station, walk 50 meters forward, turn right, and walk another 200 meters, that's your home." The voice finally fell silent after saying so much, leaving Bison utterly bewildered in the wind. After thinking for 2 seconds, Bison decided to go home first and then think, to avoid another incident like almost falling. Especially since outside the subway station, there were pedestrians, bicycles, and electric scooters everywhere, and one wrong step could lead to a collision. She didn't want to get honorably injured or bleed on the sidewalk. Thinking this, she had already arrived home. After turning on the lights and flopping onto her single sofa, she felt her whole body come back to life. The man in her head who called himself Xiao Yu also came back to life. "My name is Xiao Yu, not Xiao Yu." The voice said, "Walk 5 meters to the left, there's a bookshelf there. On the second shelf, the third book from left to right, has my name inside." Bison was a little curious. She walked over and picked out the book, discovering it was actually a Sihai dictionary. Page 505, 9th character, page 723, 21st character. The voice said, "You can see what's happening in my house." After accurately flipping to the characters, Xiao, and Yu, Bison immediately began looking around her house at the air. "I said, I'm not a ghost, nor am I a creature from your planet." Xiao Yu said, "You're an alien. Will you invade Blue Planet?" Bison suddenly asked, "Whether I invade or not, you have no right to know. You only need to know that I am the player now, and you are the character. You must obey me unconditionally." Xiao Yu said, "I just want to know what's going on. Have all of us Blue Planet people become game characters?" Bison asked, "I don't know much more than you. I just entered this game and connected with you through consciousness." Xiao Yu said, "But why were you able to control me just now? Isn't that something only demons and ghosts can do?" Bison asked again, "You have no right to know. You just need to cooperate with me when there are game missions, and I will try not to take your life." Xiao Yu said, hearing these words from the alien in her head, Bison dared not say anything more. But sitting idly and complaining was not Bison's nature. She ate when she should, drank when she should, and slept when she should. However, there was one particularly embarrassing thing. No matter what she did, the alien in her head knew everything clearly, including when she went to the bathroom or took a shower. Through her vision, he could clearly perceive everything happening around her. This directly led to Bison not even daring to look at her own body when showering. "Actually, everything your eyes see, your mouth tastes, your nose smells, your ears hear, and your hands touch, I can perceive it all, exactly the same as your own perceptions." Xiao Yu explained very seriously. Little did he know, these words completely drove Bison crazy. She rinsed the soap off her body at the fastest speed, not touching her body with her hands throughout the entire process. "Actually, you don't need to overthink it. People from our planet don't have the same gender distinctions as your planet. The game system just assigned me the name Xiao Yu, male, 21 years old. My real situation is not like that. Xiao Yu explained earnestly, but Bai Sen could only think more. She asked, your name, gender, and age are all fake, so is this whole game thing also something you made up and are directing and acting in? If you want to think that, fine, it doesn't matter. The game just issued a mission for you to stock up on electronic devices tomorrow. Xiao Yu suddenly said, issued a mission, why didn't I receive it? Bai Sen asked, you don't have permission to know, but you can hear bits and pieces, which also puzzles me. Xiao Yu's way of speaking was mechanical and dull, but Bai Sen still understood. I have a phone and a computer, I don't need to buy more. Bai Sen felt a pang of pain at the thought of buying such things. She wasn't a hedonist, but rather quite frugal, but she couldn't refuse, because Xiao Yu's control made her powerless to resist. Bai Sen was practically kidnapped to the digital city, where she spent a huge sum to buy a latest model laptop and a phone personally tested by Xiao Yu. These two items alone almost exhausted all of Bai Sen's savings. In addition, this weekend, Bai Sen was forcibly taken to stock up on some compressed dry rations and water. Afterward, she bought a high-quality, extra-large waterproof hiking backpack and packed some clothes, daily necessities, and all these electronic products into it. Finally, Xiao Yu also made her put all other electronic devices in her home that could fit into the backpack, including 2 phones, one of which Bai Sen had recently bought, and 2 large-capacity power banks. Are we going on a spontaneous trip? Such large power banks can't even be taken on planes or trains. Bai Sen quipped. In reality, her heart was bleeding from the pain of buying those things she considered useless. We're not going anywhere, just preparing for a rainy day, Xiao Yu replied. Bai Sen was noncommittal, but she couldn't control the alien overlord. Chapter 2. Breaking into the apocalypse, unprepared. Bai Sen never expected that the planning ahead Xiao Yu mentioned would find its use so quickly. Early Monday morning, Bai Sen dodged her colleague's playful teasing and finally managed to settle into her workstation with that giant backpack. Suddenly, the ground began to shake violently. The chandeliers on the ceiling swung wildly, files tumbled off desks, and the terrified screams of her colleagues pierced her eardrums. Quickly, find a safe place to hide, like under a desk, Xiao Yu's voice rang out. Bai Sen stumbled and crawled under her desk, shoving the obstructive computer tower out of the way as she did. Whether it was Bai Sen's good luck or because her workstation happened to be near the building's golden triangle, safety zone, she only heard the chaos around her and the occasional cries for help from the injured, while she remained completely unharmed. Now initiating the first trial mode, natural disaster mode, current instance, earthquake disaster, mission requirements, ensure the game character survives the trial and help as many people as possible. Upon mission completion, 1 point will be awarded. The mechanical voice from a few days ago echoed deep within Bai Sen's mind once again. What is this? Issuing a mission. The requirement is just for me to stay alive. Many questions flashed through Bai Sen's mind. At the same time, she heard the conversation between Xiao Yu and that system in her head. Xiao Yu, why only 1 point? What is the total score? What's the passing grade? What happens if I fail? System, no comment. Xiao Yu, why was I chosen for this trial? I'm not a member of the Imperial Legion. System, you will know in time. Xiao Yu, will I really asterisk if I don't complete the mission? System, once selected by the game, everyone is treated equally. Xiao Yu, I demand to speak with your superior. System, your clearance is insufficient. Xiao Yu, Bai Sen couldn't hear the subsequent exchange clearly. More accurately, she couldn't understand it. She acted as if she hadn't heard anything and cautiously poked her head out from her workstation. The office was filled with dust and in a state of complete ruin. Several colleagues had been hit by falling or overturned objects and were sitting in corners groaning. One female colleague had accidentally tripped over debris while running and tumbled over an office chair. Her dress was flipped over her head, revealing pure white underwear adorned with flamboyant green dinosaurs. You shouldn't laugh. This is a disaster. Xiao Yu's voice rang in Bai Sen's mind. I didn't want to laugh. I just couldn't help it. Bai Sen defended herself mentally. This feeling of being monitored every second was terrible. Every thought was laid bare. In the last half hour, you stared at that male colleague 5 times and even thought he wasn't handsome anymore. Now that he's covered in dust, Xiao Yu exposed her again. Can you stop peeking at my thoughts? You're making me look like some kind of creep. Bai Sen was extremely embarrassed. It's your own fault for thinking about such messy things, Xiao Yu said. Fortunately, after 7 or 8 aftershocks and waiting for about 10 minutes without further tremors, it stopped. Let's go. Get out now. Someone shouted. Bai Sen immediately followed the crowd, feeling immensely relieved as she hoisted her jumbo battle pack onto her back before leaving. Now you realize the importance of supplies. Xiao Yu's voice echoed in her mind. Bai Sen had no time to answer because her mind was already reeling from the shock. Although the earthquake had ended, the city was a complete mess. People were everywhere in the streets. Some were crying out while searching for loved ones in the ruins. Some held on to hope, while others had already fallen into despair. The sirens of fire engines and ambulances wailed in the distance. Don't waste time. You need to complete the mission quickly and go save people. Xiao Yu's words were cold, but Bai Sen could no longer care about that. She heard someone calling for help from the rubble beneath her feet, so she shouted back and quickly began moving pieces of debris with her hands. Soon, her hands were cut and bleeding, but knowing someone was waiting for her to save them, she pushed herself to the limit to speed up. Several volunteers nearby joined in as well. Finally, a survivor was pulled out. Though seriously injured, they were still alive. After Bai Sen helped put the injured person onto a volunteer stretcher, she joined the volunteer team to assist with their rescue efforts. But their rescue operation didn't last long. In the afternoon, the sky suddenly turned gloomy, covered in dark clouds as if it were about to swallow the entire city. Then, raindrops fell like sharp arrows from the sky, slamming hard against the ground. Now beginning instant settlement. In the earthquake instance, ensuring the game character's survival is completed. Reward, 1 point. Rescuing other humans, 1 person completed. Reward, 0.1 points. Total instance gain, 1.1 points. Xiao Yu, FCK. Damn it. System, please use civilized language. System rewards are determined according to the rules of the mysterious organization of the universe. Please do not question them. Now issuing the second instance mission, flood disaster. Mission requirements, ensure the game character survives the trial and help as many people as possible. Upon mission completion, a maximum of 3 points can be obtained. Xiao Yu, helping 1 human only earns 0.1 points. System, it depends on the circumstances. Xiao Yu, when can I go back? I have things to do. System, completion of the trial missions is required. The trial end date is 4x. Bai Sen couldn't hear again. She felt that these 2 alien products were doing it on purpose. By the way, she just heard Xiao Yu swear. No, your language doesn't have that specific word. It just became that after you process the meaning. Bai Sen didn't believe it, but she had no time to ask. She had to focus on her own safety. In just a few hours, the high ground Bai Sen had specifically chosen was surrounded by floodwaters. Coincidentally, Xiao Yu's voice rang in her head. Bai Sen, don't be afraid. We have to help these people. The comforting effect was non-existent. Bai Sen felt like ignoring him. She could barely save herself, let alone others. But looking back, she saw those dozen or so people on the roof, teenage students, elderly people in their 70s, and even a woman holding an infant less than a year old. Fine, if she could find a way to escape, it wouldn't hurt to lend a hand. I can calculate the optimal escape route and co-control your body with you to maximize your physical potential, Xiao Yu messaged Bai Sen. Bai Sen took a deep breath and agreed to Xiao Yu's suggestion. Wiping the sweat and rain from her face, she said in what she thought was her most righteous tone, don't be afraid, everyone. I have a way to get us to a safe place. The dozen or so people looked at each other, thinking this last must have something wrong with her head. But Bai Sen's next actions quickly sparked a glimmer of hope in them. With the help of Xiao Yu's calculations, Bai Sen pointed out the path for the others. To gain their trust, she was the first to cross the slippery roof, and then she pulled out the life-saving rope she had prepared in advance from her backpack. Much more respectful. Human nature, Bai Sen thought to herself. They are good people. They just didn't trust you, Xiao Yu said. In a short while, Bai Sen had led the group along the exterior water pipes in her rope, laboriously climbing to a nearby building on higher ground. The hardship of the process could only be attested to by Bai Sen's scratched and cut hands. Dear game player, now issuing a temporary instance mission. Find the truth behind the flood. Instance difficulty, 3 stars. Passing the mission evaluation can earn a reward of 3 to 5 points. The system's cold voice suddenly exploded in Bai Sen's mind. Why does the system only issue missions to you, but lets me hear them too? Bai Sen asked. Perhaps the system doesn't consider you an intelligent life form, Xiao Yu said mercilessly. So it doesn't even consider her a living being, just something like a cat or a dog. Bai Sen thought. Exactly as you think, Xiao Yu said. Since the system just issued a mission, it means this flood wasn't naturally caused. Could it be man-made? Bai Sen said. Yes, I also noticed it's rising too fast. It doesn't look like it was caused purely by heavy rain at all, Xiao Yu said. Since the system just issued a mission, it means this flood wasn't naturally caused. Could it be man-made? Bai Sen said. Yes, I also noticed it's rising too fast. It doesn't look like it was caused purely by heavy rain at all, Xiao Yu said. After a 2-second pause, Xiao Yu continued. The flow and impact force of the flood are a bit abnormal. It seems there's a hidden force guiding it. Then I'll get to a safer place while you take a closer look, Bai Sen said. Bai Sen found a corner to sit down and looked around. Her eyes became information gatherers. Bai Sen, look at that bridge. The location of its collapse is very suspicious. Normally, the flood's impact should start damaging from the base of the piers, but that bridge broke from a specific part in the middle, Xiao Yu said. You mean someone tampered with it beforehand, using the flood to make it collapse precisely? Bai Sen's brow furrowed slightly. Yes, the system tells me there's a mysterious organization behind this. We have to find out the truth, Xiao Yu said. Bai Sen had no choice but to comply. To find more clues, she decided to check the municipal engineering office, which wasn't yet completely submerged by the flood. There was no assault boat, but that didn't stop Bai Sen. She found some wooden boards, plastic buckets, and plastic bottles in the building and tied them together to make a simple raft. Carefully jumping onto the raft, Bai Sen used a stick to prop herself forward. The flood wasn't too deep, but the flow was too fast. Bai Sen had just dodged an advertisement board when she encountered a small vortex. You're going to be the end of me, Bai Sen complained. Just when she felt like she was going to fall apart, she finally reached the municipal engineering office building. She paddled the raft to the exterior wall of the building and then dove into the water. The first floor of the office was already flooded, but fortunately, the current wasn't fast. Bai Sen had conducted business at the municipal building before and was relatively familiar with its layout. We need to get to the east side of the second floor. After saying this, Bai Sen took a deep breath and swam toward the stairwell. Soon, she arrived at the archives where records were stored. Since it was working hours when the earthquake hit, all the offices in the municipal building were now open, and Bai Sen easily entered the archives. The archives was a mess, with files scattered everywhere, and the water had already risen to waist height. Bai Sen quickly began rummaging through the materials, her hands groping in the water for any potentially useful documents. Just then, she heard a strange sound from outside, like someone swimming in the water. Bai Sen took a deep breath and tried to calm herself down. She continued searching the archives and soon found a document titled City Water Conservancy Facility Layout Map. She quickly grabbed the document and prepared to leave. The moment she turned around, the noise outside suddenly stopped, and a figure entered the archives. Bai Sen quickly hid behind a large filing cabinet, not daring to make a sound. Bai Sen hid behind the cabinet, not daring to even breathe. The man in black rummaged through the archives, muttering things like, "What is this? Not coming himself. What's there to fear? And better if they're all wiped out. It's over. Could this be a terrorist trying to wipe out all of humanity? Ah, I'm so scared," Bai Sen thought to herself. This person likely has the same goal as you, searching for municipal infrastructure construction blueprints for some nefarious purpose. Xiao Yu's voice rang in Bai Sen's mind. You're wrong. I don't have any nefarious purposes, Bai Sen retorted. I meant him. Perhaps my phrasing was ambiguous, Xiao Yu added. As they communicated within Bai Sen's consciousness, the man seemed to sense something. He suddenly stopped what he was doing and walked slowly toward the cabinet where Bai Sen was hiding. Bai Sen's heart instantly leapt into her throat. She gripped the documents tightly, prepared to fight this villain to the death. You are overestimating yourself, like an egg striking a stone. Xiao Yu's voice was slightly hurried. Based on combat analysis, it would take him only 10 seconds to defeat you and 35 seconds to kill you. You're underestimating me too much. I'm a first-degree black belt, Bai Sen said. Performance style, completely useless, Xiao Yu mocked mercilessly. By now, the man was almost at the cabinet. Bai Sen felt as if her heart was about to jump out of her chest, and the thought of whether to run kept swirling in her mind. Just then, a loud bang suddenly came from outside. The man's expression changed, and he turned to swim toward the source of the sound. Only then did Bai Sen breathe a sigh of relief. Was that a building collapsing just now? Bai Sen asked. Of course, the building at a 45-degree angle to the front left collapsed due to a loose and weak foundation, Xiao Yu answered. I need to get out of here quickly. This building is also a notorious tofu drag project, Bai Sen said as she carefully swam out of the archives and returned the way she came. On the way back, Bai Sen kept thinking about the identity of the mysterious man. Xiao Yu, who do you think he is? Why is he also looking for these documents? Xiao Yu pondered for a moment and said, from his behavior, he is likely related to the mysterious organization, but his specific purpose is still unclear. Perhaps he is also looking for clues about the truth behind the flood, or maybe he wants to destroy certain evidence. While returning on her homemade raft, Bai Sen was taken to a temporary shelter by a team of rescuers. As soon as she was settled, Bai Sen couldn't wait to open the documents and check them. Look at these meeting minutes. It says the person in charge of the renovation project is actually the CEO of a foreign company, and it mentions that the source of funding is unknown. And they still dared to let them handle the construction. Bai Sen asked Xiao Yu in a self-muttering way within her mind. Perhaps they were bribed by this company, Xiao Yu said. After discussing for a bit in her consciousness, Xiao Yu added, we need to find a way to figure out what Shen company does and if it has anything to do with this natural disaster. Hey, big brother, this company is abroad. How do you expect me to check? Bai Sen said. You must check. This is a mission. You cannot refuse. Xiao Yu told Bai Sen commandingly. If you don't go, don't blame me for controlling you to do things you don't want to do. Xiao Yu continued. Bai Sen didn't dare to speak. She knew this alien could do it. Just yesterday, this past weekend, this alien had made her experience the feeling of her brain being unable to control her body countless times. Sometimes, she would even suddenly have thoughts of wanting to die, along with other strange ideas, and almost acted on them. Bai Sen no longer dared to talk back to this alien. Just then, Bai Sen's gaze caught a figure, dressed in black and well-built. It was clearly the man who had been in the archives earlier. He passed by Bai Sen, looking hurried. Follow him and see what he's up to, Xiao Yu ordered. Bai Sen really didn't want to engage in this death-seeking behavior, but she didn't dare refuse. If she didn't listen to this alien, she would die even faster. Bai Sen pretended to be nonchalant and slowly walked toward him. Every step she took was cautious, her heart racing. Suddenly, the man glanced back. Bai Sen quickly stopped, pretending to adjust her clothes or shoes. It seemed to be an unconscious action by the man. He turned and went behind a pile of clutter. Bai Sen vaguely heard someone whispering, find a place nearby to hide. I've already modified their communication devices into wiretaps. Bai Sen quickly found a corner by the pile of clutter to squat down, her whole body hidden in the shadows, unnoticeable unless one looked closely. Xiao Yu also began transmitting some information to her. She heard them mention words like flood, drainage system, and secret plan. Then, a low voice said, we must speed up the progress, or it will be too late for everything. But the whole city is in chaos right now. How can we avoid being discovered? Another voice responded, don't worry, we have insiders. They will distract the authorities. Yet another voice said. Bai Sen was startled. She realized these people might be related to the flood. She prepared to leave her hiding spot, and Xiao Yu shouted in her mind, what are you doing? I'm going to tell the police, Bai Sen replied. The police? Find them first before you talk. Xiao Yu's voice sounded almost exasperated. All right then, Bai Sen had no choice but to squat back down. Just before I entered the archives, it seemed someone else had gone in too. The higher-ups said the energy harvesting plan is crucial. We can't let anyone ruin our plans, a low voice said. Understood, boss. 3 or 4 voices responded, followed by the sound of many footsteps dispersing. Bai Sen also left her hiding spot and walked toward the area where she had been settled. What should I do? They found me. I'm going to be killed. Bai Sen began to mutter in her head. Don't overthink it. They didn't see it was you at all. Now you should think about how to get the message out, Xiao Yu said. Bai Sen thought about it. Right, how could she have forgotten that? She immediately took her phone out of her oversized backpack and dialed 110. The beep beep of the ringtone sounded dozens of times, but no one answered. The police station must be very busy with no one left behind, or perhaps there's simply no one left at all, Xiao Yu said in her consciousness. Then what should I do? Who should I send it to? Bai Sen asked. Lin Yu. She should have connections, and you can just leave this place, Xiao Yu said. You even know about Lin Yu. Oh right, you're omnipotent. Of course you know. Bai Sen answered her own question. Xiao Yu was right. Lin Yu worked in the media. As long as the government still existed, she would definitely be working hard. Bai Sen picked up her phone again and dialed Lin Yu's number. There was only one weak bar of signal on the phone, so she had to move around to find a better spot while waiting for the call to connect. Hello, little orange. Are you okay? Are you alright? Lin Yu's urgent voice came from the other end. I'll boost the signal. Keep it short. Her signal is bad too, Xiao Yu said. Bai Sen felt a current of electricity instantly conduct from her brain to her hand and then to the phone. The signal on the screen actually became full. No time to complain. She quickly said, I'm fine. Listen, there might be an inside story behind the flood. On the other end of the phone, Lin Yu was shocked as she listened to Bai Sen's account. Bai Sen, what you're saying is too important, but you must be careful now. I'm worried the mysterious organization will come after you. Organize the clues and send them to me. I'll start investigating immediately, Lin Yu said anxiously. Bai Sen nodded. Even though Lin Yu couldn't see her, she quickly opened her phone's photo gallery and tried to transmit the evidence to Lin Yu, but failed 3 times in a row. It's likely the signal on her end is poor, Xiao Yu said. Ask her if there's a way for her to come and get it. Bai Sen immediately told Lin Yu the location of the shelter where she was staying. That's such a coincidence. The authorities assigned a helicopter to our unit, and it's carrying out rescues right near your shelter. It'll be more convincing if you bring the original documents to me, Lin Yu said excitedly. Lin Yu immediately hung up and began making arrangements. Now that you're so powerful, why don't you complete these missions yourself? Bai Sen finally had time to continue her previous complaint. Have you ever seen an online gamer who has to enter the game and be the character themselves? With just this one sentence, Xiao Yu forced Bai Sen to change the subject. Have you ever seen someone working 996 in the morning and getting caught in the apocalypse in the afternoon? Bai Sen said, I have. People like that are everywhere on your planet now, Xiao Yu said. He successfully killed the conversation. Just then, Bai Sen's phone rang. It was Lin Yu informing her of the direction to wait for the rescue helicopter. After hanging up, Bai Sen immediately walked toward the east side of the temporary shelter. She thought she was fast enough, but before she even got close, she saw a helicopter slowly landing on the open ground. She quickened her pace with a hint of excitement. Stay in tune. Hee hee hee.